Hello, and welcome to my first Doctor Who video, specifically, on this channel. I have brought Doctor Who up in the past. I'm actually, I would say, a pretty big fan. I have lots of the merchandise. I have watched all of what's currently out as far as New Age Doctor Who. And I've even watched some of the old stuff. But with that said, let me go ahead and clarify classic Doctor Who versus what I consider New Age Doctor Who. So anything from Chris Eccleston up, I would consider New Age Doctor Who. The classics are anybody before Christopher. So, the other thing I want to say too before I get into this video is the reason I'm doing this is at this point in time, or if you're watching this before the release, is at the end of November they are going to be airing the next season of Doctor Who, which is going to bring back David Tennant and Donna Noble's character. I'm actually really excited about that. I haven't been really excited about Doctor Who as much since the end of Matt Smith's time. I did watch through the Peter Capaldi stuff, and I even started with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. But I kind of lost interest, and I got involved in other things, so I kind of phased out of it for a while, took a break. But recently, with the knowledge that, this new season was happening and we were going to get David Tennant coming back, I was like, okay, I'm actually really excited for that. So let me go ahead and finish off Jodie Whittaker's era as the Doctor, which I watched on HBO Max, or just Max now, sorry. So, yeah. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started on my top 10 Doctors of Doctor Who. Alright, so, as I said, I am going to be going through and ranking my top 10 Doctors, which actually is really convenient because I've only seen 10 of the Doctors out of all the ones we have. And I want to be frankly clear about this. A lot of the classic Doctors I did not include on this list, mostly due to the fact that I haven't seen most of the old stuff. I've seen bits, I've seen pieces, but I haven't actually had the ability to sit down and watch through every season, every episode. And so not every classic Doctor makes it on this list. However, I did see mass majority of the first few seasons with the first Doctor, and I had seen the Doctor Who movie that came out in the 80s, starring Paul McGann. So, those two Doctors are on this list. And I'll go through and I'll say, why I'm ranking it, where I'm ranking it too. So, let's go ahead and get started with number 10, The Fugitive Doctor, played by Joe Martin. This is at the bottom of the list because, well, this Doctor showed up during Jodie Whittaker's time, and I wasn't really happy with the direction that they were taking the story involving this version of the Doctor. Yeah, I was just kind of upset by it. So, I didn't really find her all that interesting, funny, or anything, and it was just kind of blah. And it kind of goes against some of the stuff we've known about the Doctor. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, I don't want to go into spoilers, but if you know, you know. And I wasn't happy with that direction. So moving on to number 9. The 8th Doctor, Paul McGann. Like I said, I did watch the movie. I've seen it once a couple of years ago when I first started getting into Doctor Who. Wow, actually it's more than a couple of years. It's been like, I think I got into Doctor Who around like 2010, so almost like 13 years ago. But yeah, it was actually available to watch on a streaming service. I think it was on YouTube. It might have been on something else though, but it was on something where I could stream, and that's how I was able to watch it, and so I watched it there. I thought he did a really good job as the Doctor. I'm kind of shocked they didn't ever do any seasons with him, but I'm so glad that they brought him back for that short to show how he turns into Christopher, because I mean, we had nothing before, and we really don't get a shot of him as Christopher, but yeah. Coming in at number 8 is the 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. He was fine in the beginning, but I'm kind of glad that they changed him and went with David Tennant after only one season, because I was getting kind of annoyed with him, and he wasn't keeping my interest as much as David does. You know, I mean, he was fine, he had his moments, but it was just Coming in at number 7 is our 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker. Okay, so I know that, you know, there's a lot of hate when it comes to Jodie's Doctor. I've seen tons of videos and stuff on YouTube, and for the most part, I actually agree with some of the criticisms, but not in the way you might think. We always known that the Doctor could become a woman. The problem was that they chose the wrong time to do it. They picked the very wrong time to make the Doctor a woman. Because everything in the world was, you know, going woke, and that's all this came off as. That's what turned fans away, in my opinion, is that just we were sick of this woke agenda bullcrap being shoved down our throats, and people were starting to be like, no, I'm not going to support something that seems woke to me. And I get it. You know, I understand that mindset. My biggest issue, though, with Jodie Whittaker's character as the Doctor is she didn't have her own identity. And it kind of shows, being that they're going back to David Tennant. Because the entire time I watched her 3 seasons of Doctor Who, the stories were the only things keeping me compelled to keep watching. She just seemed like a cheap knockoff of David Tennant's Doctor. Like, you could clearly tell she was trying to imitate his version of Doctor Who, and not pulling it off successfully, and it just came off fake. Whereas, you know, Matt Smith had a very different take on the Doctor. Peter Capaldi had a very different take on the Doctor. They felt like really different people, and it made you really question what happens when the Doctor regenerates. So that's my biggest complaint with her as the Doctor, is that she just seems too much like David Tennant. Like she's trying to copy or produce the same kind of Doctor he was, just in a woman's body. And it wasn't working for me. I'd just be happy seeing David Tennant again, which we're going to at the end of the month, and I'm super excited. But moving on to number 6, that spot will go to the first Doctor, William Hartnell. Now, I have seen a mass majority of his episodes. Probably not all of them. I think that there were some that were unavailable on the streaming service I used to have that had Doctor Who. And so it was missing like huge gaps of doctors in the past. But from what I saw, I really enjoyed it. He seemed very smug, but he did it in a charming kind of way that makes you laugh. So, but was he the best? Not in my opinion.
For thousands of years, the world has been protected by the Guardian of Light, or as he is more commonly known, Santa Claus. Over the centuries, factors such as fear and prejudice, greed and jealousy, misunderstandings, betrayal and war have segregated most humans from the magical world of elves, fairies, wizards, and the like. This has resulted in many misconceptions and generalizations of the true nature of Santa and his world.
This 6-book series by Sean Connaughton begins as the current of a long series of Guardians is murdered by a group of monstrous enemies recently escaped from an enchanted South Pole prison. These creatures are loyal to the darkness, an evil force determined to exterminate the light in order to enslave all creatures of the world.
Shane Connor, an average young man, suddenly finds himself being trained as the new Guardian. As he adapts to his new life among fantastic creatures, he goes on an adventurous quest with a legendary wizard for the ultimate weapon to use against the darkness, and faces murderous enemies like Rasputin, Morgana Le Fay, Krampus, and many more.
Along with his best friend, Joe Gomez, Shane encounters politics, history, mysterious murders, new loves, his own hidden past, and racial dynamics among the fantasy races that turn out to be all too real. Their adventures reveal the true nature of the world and challenge the current state of how all races interact.
This series expertly melds myths, legends, history, faiths, folklore, and secret societies into a fascinating, cohesive, comprehensive world of wonder and magic.
From Atlantis to Olympus, from Hades to the moon, and from broomstick races to Christmas deadlines, join the new Santa Claus on his amazing journey. But beware! Will Shane's quest achieve his ultimate goal of destroying the darkness and preserving the light of the world? Or is he actually playing right into a plot by dark forces that will result in his, and our, ultimate doom?
So make your list and check it twice for the Guardian of Light book series. Download your audiobook or ebook today from Audible, Amazon, or iTunes.
Now moving on to number 5, the War Doctor. And played by John Hurt. First off, I have seen John Hurt in so many freaking movies. It was nice to see him come in as the War Doctor. And his relationship with the other doctors in that special was epic. Technically, I won't, like, me and my buddy, we will talk about Doctor Who, and he'll be like, David, I like the 10th, or he'll say something about the 10th, and I'll be like, well, technically, David's the 11th Doctor. And he's like, no, he's not. I'm like, yeah, because the War Doctor came between, earlier in the regeneration cycles. He's like, that doesn't count, even the Doctor doesn't. And it's like, but he was the Doctor. He was that character, so it just throws the whole number thing off when you're talking numbers. But I really did enjoy John Hurt, even though we only got him for that one special, really. But if Paul McGann's on here, I feel like I have to include John Hurt too. And I just feel like John Hurt was the better Doctor than Paul McGann was. He did more, a little bit more, not much more. But now moving on to number 4. Since we're talking about guest doctors, this spot is going to go to the first Doctor, David Bradley. Technically the second first Doctor. They wanted to bring back the first Doctor in the line of regenerations. And sadly, William Hartnell had already passed away long ago. And David Bradley stepped in and filled the shoes. And I just gotta say, wow, I have seen this guy in Harry Potter. I've seen this guy in Game of Thrones. And the way he is just able to step in and become William Hartnell, or the first Doctor, because, I did watch Adventures in Time and Space as well. He's just... I swear if these two guys were standing side by side wearing the same clothes, I may not be able to tell who is who. That's how great of casting this was. And he was really convincing as the returning first Doctor. So, now moving on to number 3. And the number 3 spot goes to the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi. I really enjoyed Peter Capaldi's character as the Doctor, which shouldn't be that much a surprise. Being I've talked about him in a past video where I said if they were to ever remake Back to the Future, I'd like to see them cast Peter Capaldi as Doc Brown. And that's because his role as the Doctor just kind of made me think of Doc Brown the whole time. Like, yeah, he was crazy, and yeah, he got angry and stuff, but I don't know, something about it just made me think of Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. So, now moving on to number 2. The 10th/14th Doctor, David Tennant. Now, I know a lot of people would probably put this person up at the very top of the list. I did enjoy David Tennant quite a bit. He was a very fun Doctor, and he had a whole lot of charisma. There were just some things that held it back here and there. And, I mean, yeah, he was funny, he was interesting, but not as funny as interesting as the first pick. But I definitely enjoyed my time with him, and I'm looking forward to enjoying his return. He is the reason that, that I'm getting excited once again about Doctor Who, because we get to see him return as the Doctor. And I would feel this way about any of my top 3 choices. And we know that, I didn't say this when I was talking about Peter Capaldi, but we know when Peter Capaldi was the Doctor that there is a way that the Doctor can sort of visualize and influence how he regenerates based on past faces. And they did this too with, I think, Sylvester McCoy's version of the Doctor. I believe that's the one. Sylvester McCoy had started on the show as a different character, and then he came back, but to reprise the role as the Doctor, not the one character he had been before. And the same thing with Peter Capaldi. So I feel like we know that the Doctor can do this. He can force his, a certain face onto his new regenerated body. So, I'm wondering if that's going to play a role in the upcoming series of Doctor Who. So, but time will tell. We'll find out. Now, without further ado, the number 1, or my number 1 pick for Doctor Who is the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith. Now, like I said, most people, they'd put David Tennant up here. But to me, from the second Matt Smith is on screen, to pretty much even the last second he's on screen, he is just always going, always moving. He's so full of energy. This guy, he is such a great actor. He has gone on to do so much. so many big movies. Yeah, David Tennant has done some big movies, but I would feel like Matt Smith has done just a bit more. He's currently starring in the Game of Thrones spinoff, House of Dragons. So he was in a Terminator movie. He was in a bunch of other stuff. And I just love the comedy he brought to the character of Doctor Who. I just love his energy, his relationship with his companions. Even the way he handled, his enemies. I mean, he has some of the most iconic lines of the franchise. He also goes up against some of the biggest villains. And he's got some of the biggest plots and story points. Maybe that helps add to it for me because, being a writer, I like, the story elements. I just don't like the character based on just, oh, it's this person, or, oh, it's just how that person looks. But yeah, Matt Smith was definitely high up there, and I loved every minute of his version of the Doctor. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below, how would you rank these 10 Doctors? If you were gonna rank them, what would you rank them from 10 to 1? And if you've seen all the Doctors, I will probably try to get on DVD or Blu-ray the classic Doctor Who sets once they're all available, once I have the money to do so. And I will probably sit down and watch through every single episode, every single special, every single movie. And maybe after I do that, I will come back and I will do a ranking list of every Doctor. If there's any Doctors I missed or that you think I should have included, let me know down in the comments below. I'm going to be busy. I think I might have said this back at the intro, but I'll restate it just for those who don't know. I got a lot of content I'm going to be working on with my daughter over the end of November and all throughout December, so I won't be able to do much else in the form of content. So I'm thinking for the next week or two, I might do some strictly Doctor Who content. I'm thinking about maybe a top 10 or top 20 list of Doctor Who villains and Doctor Who companions. So if you want to see one of those more than the other, if you want me to rank like the top 10 companions or the top 10 villains or 20 villains, let me know down in the comments below about that too. And with that said, I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.